It's Wednesday, the best damn day of the week. It is OSD, Obsessive Sneaker Disorder. Thanks for tuning in as you do each and every week. Episode 313, 313, 3... Oh, let me stop. No, I can't rap, I can't sing, but that's all right. It is OSD, Obsessive Sneaker Disorder. Thank you for tuning in to the World Wide Web. We are where you are each and every week. The Sole Doctors Disorderlies. We're here for you, and boy, we have a great show in store for you. We're going to be joined later on, or actually joining us very soon, our guest this evening, Craig Heisner from Newton Running Company. But in the meantime, we got to get to the Sole Doctors and Disorderlies, and hopefully you're wearing your sneakers. We tell people, wear your kicks. As Dr. Paper says, wear every pair. But let's go straight to the PDX by way of Boston. The one and only Mr. Jesse's in the building. What's up, sir? Man.
Hello, Disorderlies and obsessive sneaker people. How you doing?
Yes.
Everything's good out here in Portland. Had a little rain today. We got some more blue skies out here in the Pacific Northwest. Hope everyone's doing well. Hope everyone's wearing their kicks. Hope everyone's picked up some Jason Marks and make sure they're clean. We don't do dirty kicks on this show. And, you know, enjoying the culture.
Actually,
so glad to be here.
My kicks are dirty. Sorry about that. I need to clean my kicks, but that's for another story. So
you know the rules.
You played host to Dr. Ridiculous. Dr. Ridiculous traveled from Omaha, Nebraska to the PDX, and he took them all around and showed them the sites and introduced them to the family. Talk about it.
Yes, we, you know, I picked him up from the airport, and it was sunny, and we didn't even stop for food. We didn't stop for gas. We went straight over to Pensole to get an inside look at the World Sneaker Championship going on.
Nice.
Let me tell you, there's going to be a lot of creativity, a lot of learning. These kids are eager. They've got a great teacher in Dwayne, and Suzette Henry's over there with some amazing material. She's got some new stuff that she's bringing out. So it's, again, the things going on at Pensole are amazing and fantastic, and you just get an immediate sense of inspiration as soon as you walk in the door. So please pay attention to that. Sports Illustrated was there today. It's also being covered on Ice Kicks. So this is the real deal. This is good stuff. This is the future of sneaker design.
Nice.
So you want to be involved there. Then we hit up some shopping, the local spots. I'm not going to give off too much, but, you know, I had to take my man out.
Pictures coming?
Had to let him see what was going on, and some pictures, you know, but you know, he hit his key spot, and, you know, we did a little photo shoot, and you know, it's great to be able to share the culture and love with someone a familiar thought, and to see the happiness on his face, that made my day, you know.
Absolutely.
So great visit. He's still here.
Nice.
He's heading out to Eugene now to do some track and field work out at the Tracktown USA this weekend. So he's really enjoyed his visit. He linked up with Joel, and he linked up with Berto, and he's having a good time. So
there we go. There it is, man.
Yes, because we're holding it down. We're representing the culture.
Absolutely.
Sure.
So just let us know when you're having your summit. You know, the JR Summit. Call it the JR Summit. That's all you got to call it. You know, let us know.
There's a lot of great things going on. I got the connections now, and I have some thoughts about that, actually. We got some cool stuff coming up, you know. Shouts out to my man Ian, greater than good, coming up with a really great concept. All I have to say is sneakers, coffee, and conversation. It's going to be something nice going on out here. So
absolutely,
make sure you check that out.
Cool. Well, let's go to Brooklyn, USA, the coolest place on the earth. More importantly, because it's the home of the one and only Dr. Paper Chaser. What's up, sir?
What is good, Soul Doctors? The homie Craig Heisner. Welcome back. Disorderlies around the world. Welcome to episode number 313 with our special guest, as you just heard introduced, President of Newton Running, Craig Heisner. So we're looking forward to hearing exactly what is going on with the Newton Running Company since its inception and since we've been covering them periodically on this show. As D. Wells has stated also, we got a little bit of event recap and talk about a few upcoming events that are going on in the sneaker universe. And of course, we got to get into those stocks. So we need to do that actually first. And hopefully we have one more to add with a little bit of guidance soon after tonight's show. So we're going to set it off really quickly And we'll be pleased to know, Sole Doctors and Disorderlies, that only one stock ended up down today.
Okay.
Everything else was numbers in the green. So we're setting it off with Nike finishing at $77.37 per share, up 33 cents per. Skechers finished at $48.51 per share, up 4 cents per share. VF Corporation, Vanity Fair Corporation, parent company of Vans, North Face, Timberland, etc., finished at $61.19 per share, up 53 cents per. Under Armour finished at $60.63 per share, up 37 cents. Deckers Outdoor, parent company for Uggs. I did see someone wearing Uggs today. Yeah, I did.
Really?
I did. Finished at $84.98 per share, up 86 cents per share. Amazing that stock price right now, considering I don't know who's buying Uggs. Foot Locker Incorporated finished at $48.47 per share, up 40 cents per. Adidas AG on the OTC market finished at $48.66 per share, down 20 cents per. Only stock down on the day. Puma AG finished at 205.80 in euros on the ETR market, no change. And eBay finished at $52.66 per share, up 61 cents per share. Last but not least, Finish Line finished on the NASDAQ at $26.74 per share, up 53 cents per share. So pretty good day considering all the stocks that we watch. And once again, as we always state, please put a little bit of money to the side so that you can find a way to invest in these companies among some other ones in the footwear industry so that you guys can win on both sides of the equation. So every day, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time or later, these results that I just read are published on Facebook in the OSD group, on Google+, and on Twitter. So you got to be in it to win it. So if you guys are please, we're advocates for you guys investing in these said companies as well as this industry on the other side of the game besides being a consumer. So what do you guys think of those results today? Jess, D?
Do you want it first or what?
No, you jump in first because this is interesting. It's a complete opposite of last week's report. But go ahead, JR.
Well, we see our Sean, can you throw that back up?
Yes, sir.
Sorry about that. We see small increments, but we see increments as we start to gear up for the energy that is back to school and things of that nature. I wanted to wait until he was done. The Uggs thing is not a surprise, and I think there's some stuff going on in the background there on the men's side, and shoes that aren't necessarily the Ugg boots that we think of. You think of Uggs and you think of those boots you had to buy your girl, your mom, or whatever. But they are doing some other things that I think may be getting traction in other places.
Lifestyle stuff, you think?
Yeah. You don't forget, they had a Tom Brady's on there now, and there's some other stuff going on.
He's still on there, yeah.
Yeah, so there's different avenues that they're playing in that may not be in the direct vision of our
Speaking of Tom Brady, that you say that, there's a huge, on the Mass Pike, there's a huge billboard of Tom Brady advertising Uggs. So I saw it. I just saw it the other day when I was cruising into Copley Center. So.
Well, you have to understand, this is where the conversations behind closed doors are happening with product marketing and product, and sometimes you do things that are good for the brand that not necessarily are screaming to everyone else. So, like Ridiculous likes to say, we might not be the target market, but Tom Brady plays in a world that we might not know about with disposable income. And if that disposable income wants a Tom Brady look and they're using Ugg lifestyle shoes, then that's how it goes. So I think there's something going on there for them, especially as we move into the fall. That's where that is for them. Everybody else going up a little bit. Everything's on the market now. They put everything out in June.
Yeah.
They're seeing what's hot, what's not. they'll go through back to school and then get ready for holiday. So there's a lot of movement going on. Adidas is going through a very big transition behind closed doors. A lot of movement of people, a lot of rethinking on, I think, their North American marketplace. So that's not a surprise, but it's not a concern either. I think they may come back kind of strong if they reposition correctly. But there's some things going on internally there.
Man. Well, and like you said earlier, you alluded to this. Back to school has already started. Granted, it is only the 23rd. Well, we say only the 23rd of July, but when you see retailers such as Target, Walmart, off-price retailers such as TJ Maxx, Home Goods, AJ Wright, Marshalls, where they're pushing back to school as of July 1. Yeah, the clock is ticking, and everyone's pushing towards it. I mean, Adidas, yeah, they had a little blip today, as Dr. Paper, reported, but this is coming off the heels of, World Cup, and like you said, Jesse, there's a lot of stuff going on. I hear a lot of grumbling of what's happening there in your backyard in Oregon, and it's trickling down to my neck of the woods at Reebok. So. It's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen in the next coming, let's say, really the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah, probably the 2 to 3 weeks as you go into September. You'll probably see that stock go back up. It's interesting. I don't know. I'm not in there. But what you see from the outside and you get from the vibes and conversations you have outside, there's a couple job opportunities popping up for Reebok out here as opposed to Adidas. So if you're going to take what's going on right now with the CrossFit Games, your rebranding, your training, and your outdoor, and you're trying to get that new image, yet you still have your Adidas image, is there a flip-flop going on? Is there a little more exposure in the West Coast for that as opposed to the East? So they're making those moves. It looks like they're really trying to position themselves to better serve the markets, So you got a lot of heat with originals on the East Coast, but maybe not on the West because you're not wearing suede leather and those kind of things out West. So it looks like they might be having a little bit of a smarter conversation based on their geography here in the North America and where they can play a little bit better. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
I agree with that. Definitely agree with that because that rebranding with that, in my opinion, sorry Reebok, horrible new logo. That was like Google Drive and everything else.
The Delta, yeah.
They're
doing the Rock. It reminded me of.
So, considering like Jesse said, Portland and the Northwest, and even in Colorado where Craig is, and places like that, those are more active lifestyles in regard to where Reebok's branding is these days. So it would make sense for them to try and position themselves over there because on the East Coast, everyone just wants to look chill and not lace their sneakers. Nobody really gives a shit about running and anything that they have to offer.
And when you look at your, when you talk about that positioning, when you talk about East Coast fitness and exercise or trying to play in that realm, the Reebok gyms that are in the East Coast are dark, underground, kind of that elusive kind of community. The fitness community on the East is kind of itself. It doesn't really, you find it cool, but if you don't, they don't care if you don't or not, so they don't market it. If you want us, we're here, but if you don't, you can go to 24-hour fitness or you can go wherever you want. As opposed to out here, once you get to Colorado and further out, gyms and fitness in those places, there's sunshine, there's open doors, there's community, there's families, there's dogs, there's all kinds of things around that are just a part of the culture. You don't have to market them. And so in order for them to really be able to push that delta, which they're already doing with the games, because people out here that are doing those CrossFit things, they're associating with Reebok. That's what it is. It's the delta. So in order for them to really try to get a foothold on that, it's a good move.
That's what they know.
Yep, I agree.
We'll keep watching these stocks. I mean, as back to school continues to heat up, and we certainly are seeing more and more people. There's been actually a big report that was coming out. I'm waiting for the final white paper about the impact footwear has had on the baby boomer generation, because we've discussed this many times. That generation has had hip replacement, knee replacement, all sorts of foot surgeries. So, and doctors are recommending what? They're recommending sneakers. They're recommending not certain brands, luckily, but they're recommending sneakers as a whole. So, so as soon as I get that, I'll be able to share that with the crew, and certainly make it available on OSD Live's website.
That's a great conversation for another show, because you can ask any orthopedic doctor, and this is, I was talking to Craig earlier about being City Sports back in the day. If you went to your doctor, your orthopedic, and he said, you need to put on orthotics or something like that, after he gave you those orthotics, he sent you directly to City Sports to get the correct shoe. And then after that, he was like, you need to stay out of your hard bottom shoes. So we have a large part of our culture that spends majority of their times in hard bottom shoes, not understanding what the effect long term it does on their body. So now it's like, okay, now we're getting to our 40s and 50s, and we can spend time in shoes. What shoes should be in, and there's a lot of atrophy that needs to be changed in our bodies based on wearing hard sole shoes. So
absolutely,
it's nice to see. It's nice to see.
It is. Paper. What is this? The fireman's in the building.
Yes.
The J4.
This is, guys, the official recap from the Fresher Than Your Average event that took place this past Saturday, July 19th at the Irondale Ensemble in Fort Greene, Brooklyn. Great event. The recap is up on ftyaevent.com for you guys to go and check out. And as D. Wells stated, a certified, real deal, no games, New York City fireman, one of New York's bravest, took home the Air Jordan 4 trophy for Fresher Than Your Average this past weekend. So shout out to him. Great job. It was a great battle overall. Great event. Shout out to April Walker, good folks over at Rhyme, Sean David from Laced Up. Buckshot from Black Moon had a table in the building promoting his new line of shoes, Triple Threat. So we're going to be having a part 2 discussion on that one day soon, and hopefully we'll have Buckshot on the show. But I'll put up this picture right here real quick. I don't know how big I can make it, but that's actually Buckshot saying what's up to a fan in the white T-shirt. Buck is in the camo. So yeah, it was a good time had by all.
Nice.
So that's FTYA recap up on ftyaevent.com from this past weekend in Brooklyn. Check it out. There's a few more pictures up from. Shout out to Fetty DiBiase. She threw up a couple of pictures also. But yeah, good event. Can't wait till the next one, because there's so much bigger and better planned as the event series progresses. So I'm so not mad at it. Yeah. So, and as Jesse stated, the World Sneaker Championships started the other day out in downtown Portland at the Pencil Footwear Design Academy. Stay tuned for more coverage on that. Primary coverage is going to be coming, as Jesse said, from nicekicks.com and from Sports Illustrated. So shout out to those two organizations for being visionaries and understanding what's going on out at the Pencil Footwear Design Academy, because it really is some incredible stuff going to be going on out there. So make sure you check that out. We have
just to throw in on
coming up this weekend.
I will report every show between now and the end of the championship on what I've seen. I will be spending time over there, especially during specific points of the competition, reviews, ideation, all those kind of things. So I will be doing it in increments, and I will be making sure that everyone here at ODS is updated and aware of what's going on.
All right, cool. Boom, bing.
Wow. What's this event, though, Pape? This documentary film?
So yeah, so
when can I see it and where's my download?
So as we stated last week, the first sneaker documentary to come out in 9, almost 10 years, will be screening this Sunday in New York at Ryman YC. It's an RSVP invite-only situation for the screening of Laced Up. Looking forward to seeing this film. I'm happy to have been involved with it, as is D. Wells and so many other sneaker lovers around the country who are involved in the film. So it'll be screened for the first time on Sunday at Ryman YC in Brooklyn from 6 to 9. I just can't wait to see it and just to get that whole wave of promotion and screenings around the country underway. So again, first feature-length sneaker documentary in 9.5 years.
Whew.
So it's been a long gap in between Just for Kicks and this movie. So it's about that time again. So looking forward to that. And also on the same day, we can't forget our own Kadoma is doing his summer installment of the H-Town Sneaker Summit down at the NRG Arena now, is it called?
Absolutely.
NRG Arena. The latest installment, the summer installment of the H-Town Sneaker Summit. If you haven't been, you are really missing out on something. Head on over to sneakersummit.com to get all the details you need to get to decide if you're going or not, how, when, hotel discounts, travel discounts, stuff going on beforehand, afterwards, all that good stuff. They really roll out the red carpet for everyone who comes to the city of Houston for the H-Town Sneaker Summit. So I urge you, if you are in the nearby vicinity and it's not too much of an effort for you to get there, and you love kicks, or you have a child who loves kicks, or someone, that you get there. So shout out to Kadoma. He's on his way back to Houston. He was here in New York for Project and Agenda the last couple of days, so I know he's on his way back to Houston, and he'll be giving us another recap of what he saw in New York for that. So stay tuned. More on the way. And D. Wells.
Yes, sir.
We're giving people more than enough notice for this event going on in October.
Exactly. More than enough, more than enough information. Advance notice. Write the date. Circle it on your calendar. October 18th, 19th. The Boston Sneaker Jam is the place where you need to be. Taking place at the Boston Seaport World Trade Center. You will want to be in the building. We have lots of stuff on store, information. Trust me. Every week, we, the Sole Doctors Disorderlies, will be sharing information with you about the Boston Sneaker Jam. You can head on over to their website. It is bostonsneakerjam.com. Sign up and get on the news mailing list, and then more importantly, follow on Twitter, Instagram, and all that good stuff. So tickets are available, through Eventbrite right on the website. Go do it, write it down, and yeah, there may be some special edition sneakers in store. I'm just putting that out there right now. So just some special edition stuff. Be ready.
And D. Wells, last but not least, before we move into the next portion of the show, we have to send a shout out to our boy from Daydream Films.
Oh,
Mr.
yes.
Calvin Fowler, who is in the process of building and soon opening the doors on the Jordan Heads Boutique in Brooklyn.
Absolutely.
So shout out to him. So
Great news. Great news. It popped up just last week I think we got information.
Just last week. It
Yeah.
would be the first all Jordan footwear boutique.
Yep. Yep.
That's going to be real interesting, America.
So if you head on over to to jordanheadsbk.com, that's their official website. You can go and check it out. Again, information is forthcoming. They're working on it. It's a work in progress still. Head on over to jordanheadsbk.com. There's their website. Follow on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. More importantly, Calvin, as Sean said, he's been working on a documentary for some time now, and now is actually setting up the first Air Jordan consignment store. So support the homie, support the great people behind this film project, because I know a lot of folks were interviewed, a lot of folks were waiting for it and anxious to see it, and there was minor delays and a couple setbacks here and there, but in the meantime, Jordan Heads Brooklyn, all Air Jordan consignment store, coming very, very soon to Brooklyn, New York. So,
there we go.
Yeah, man. See this
the team of Jordan Heads.
You know what? When people say, "Oh, the sneaker culture is not alive," or it's fugazi or whatever, I'm like, are you living under a rock? Do you realize there's so much stuff to do? There's so many things that can be done in this new economy where we have the power of the internet. I mean, look at this show. Here we are. We started off soon to celebrate 7 years. We went from an audio podcast with just my voice to now audio podcast to now a video show where people all over the world watch it live, as well as download it, as well as watch it, after the fact. So, you know what? If you have an idea, get your team right and go ahead and really make it happen and execute it. So
that's right. And we'll help you. Social studies is coming back.
Absolutely. Social studies. But man, we've been keeping this man waiting for a long time, Paper and Jesse.
Yeah, we've been keeping him at bay. He's a supporter. He loves the show, though. He loves the news we disseminate.
Exactly. And it's been a while since we've had him on the show. I mean, I think back to it, it was back in March 21st, 2012 to be exact.
Yep.
When Craig Heisner joined us for episode 217, and here we are in 2014, episode 313, and the man is back. So, Craig, thanks for joining in, and more importantly, joining us.
What's up, guys?
On OSD.
What up, Craig?
How's it going?
Ooh, you've been busy.
Coming on.
I got to tell you, I'm biting my tongue here, listening to all these, all this info in the back room, and of course, I know a few people in the biz, so I think when I retire, I need to be on the show with you guys, because I can stuff up too.
We got a spot for you, baby. It's here.
You know what, Craig? I'm going to do what Scottie Pippen did to Jordan back in the day. He just did this.
You don't have to retire. You can just.
You don't have to retire. You just.
Words.
Some of the stuff I know might force me to retire if I started talking.
That's why I was thinking he said retire.
Exactly. Man.
Well, Greg knows to deal with this show. He know we don't bite our tongue.
You guys, you shouldn't. I mean, that's what people are listening for, right? When you work for a few different brands in the business like I have, you get to meet a lot of people, and I love the sneaker culture, both at the consumer level, but also at the industry level. Man, it's just a great business, and there's a lot of really smart, talented people, and we need to get more people in this business. We need folks who are thinking about, and I think a lot of people don't necessarily understand the opportunities that exist in our business. Because there's a lot. I mean, it's on the product, the promo, the event side, obviously the sales side. I mean, there is so much stuff that young people need to be made aware of, and that's one of the things that we're trying to do as an industry is just have, because some of us are getting old, man. We need to get some fresh thinking in here and get some talent in. So, but there's a lot of opportunity, and I'd love to talk about it anytime. So I appreciate you guys having me on.
Thank you, brother.
Well, Craig, offline, you mentioned you had a story that you wanted to tell, basically, of how you got into the industry. So, I mean, you talk about bringing some new blood into the fold and new ideas, but kind of give us some people can go back and listen to episode 217, and you did share that story then, but how did you break into, or how did you get your start? Who introduced you to the world of footwear?
Well, athletic footwear. I'll try to keep it short, but when I was in 4th grade, I was a sneakerhead, and I loved Irving, man. I grew up on the East Coast. I was born in Philly. Julius was my guy, and I was a big hoop guy, and a friend of mine in 4th grade, a guy by the name of Dana Bloss. I lived in this little town in northeastern Pennsylvania. His dad owned a shoe store called Bloss Bootery, and we used to design shoes in 4th grade. And I'm not kidding you, I still have those designs. It's a B and a B for Bloss Bootery, and it's reversed. And I should make a shoe sometime, but that's how far back it goes for me. When I got in biz, I finished up. I was a football player in college, and when I got out, I sort of had that competitive drive, like a lot of us do. And I initially started in the food business. I worked for Campbell's Soup Company for about 4 years, and I went back to school in Boston. And when I went back to school, I really wanted to, figure out and take the time when I was back full time to determine what I wanted to do. And I started to I said, man, I got to get into this athletic footwear and apparel business. And of course, with all the companies in Boston, I started looking around and, trying to crack the code. And, this goes back to the early 90s. And there was a guy at Reebok who was kind enough to meet with me. His name's John Morgan. He's been in the biz for a long time. Wonderful guy. And John said, look, you need to go and work at retail. And I thought, come on, man, I'm pushing 30. I've got an advanced degree. I've worked for a great brand. I mean, why wouldn't these people just hire me? But you know what? I did it. I went and I took a job at Marathon Sports, little independent running specialty store, which was just opening up its second store in Boston. The owner of the store, Colin Petty, gave me an opportunity to come in and start on the ground floor. And I took the job at $8 an hour, and I worked there for a little over a year. And finally, New Balance, called me and said, hey, we'd love to have you come in and help us manage this running business unit. And I think, the moral of the story is figure out what you want to do, identify the opportunities in the biz because they're out there. And you know what? Sometimes you got to sort of check your ego a little bit and learn the biz, man. Step back and do what it takes to, whatever it takes to get into it. And of course, I think that's true for everything. But in our business, and I tell young people that all the time, I just say, you ever worked retail? Get out there and Jesse, you've probably been in the stores. You know how it goes down, and there's a lot to learn at that ground level. And some people are just they don't want to start at that level, but it's invaluable. So that's my story, and obviously I took advantage of opportunities that were provided to me and have moved along to where I am today. But if I hadn't done that, I never would have gotten in the biz.
Rolling up your sleeves and actually working retail and dealing with the customers who come into the store and have no clue sometimes of what they want, what they're looking for. And here's your job as a salesperson, to teach, educate, and also figure out what it is they want to do with, is it tennis, is it basketball, is it cross training, step aerobics, whatever. And that's one of the things I guess, people say, well, the new millennial generation, they don't want to work. They just think shit should be given to them. Well, you know what? Yeah, you gotta do some work. Sometimes you gotta clean out a closet for 8 hours. Yeah. And do stock, right?
Lace some shoes for a day, right?
Exactly. Sell some shoe cleaner too. While at it.
I've done it all, and you know what? I still do it. I still, when we go out to expos, I sell shoes, and that's what we all do. But yeah, you're right, and don't get me started, D, on this this other generation.
I'll chime in all night. It was one of those things.
But I just think young people should, be okay with stepping back and starting at the ground floor. I think it's tremendous experience, and I would urge everyone to do what it takes to follow your dream and your passion. That's what I did, and it's worked out.
There's a lot of ways to learn.
Absolutely.
A lot of ways to learn.
Yep, absolutely there are. And we teach them all in social studies.
We do. We talk about it. We do.
So you youngsters, if you're listening, social studies is coming back soon. You might want to sign up. It'll change your life.
Craig, you mentioned something about, basically you sell when you go to trade shows and whatnot. So you have a sale. I take it you have a sales staff, you have marketing people, stuff like that. But how do you sell? What is it what tactics or what strategy do you use personally? I mean, you're the president of Newton Running. How do you get people to understand that, yeah, you're the president, but guess what? You're not afraid to do whatever it takes to sell, but also tell that story and get people to believe in Newton Running's products?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, this is a product game, right? I mean, more than anything, if you don't have the product, you can't succeed. I mean, I believe that. I started off in a product manager position, and that's a skill set that is always going to be with me, and quite honestly, it needs to be with everyone. And I think because our product is really about identifying, it's a highly involved buying and selling experience when you buy Newton product, and truthfully, it needs to be simpler, which is part of the challenges that we face. But really, for me, what it starts with listening to the consumer. It's really less about I'm trying to hook up a shoe with my top, or I mean that's just not where we are as a brand right now.
Right.
It's really about understanding the needs of the runner, how they run, how much they run, if they've had injuries, all those things. Obviously, foot structure, body structure, all that goes into the conversation that begins in selling product to them. And so everybody at Newton is, and we only have about 65, 70 employees across the world, but every one of us is measured and qualified to approach every single experience with a customer in that way. So it's the right way to do it, and I mean, I don't know how much you guys are aware of Newton, but and Dee, I don't want to sidetrack your
no, go ahead.
Totally good, Craig.
Yeah, so Newton was started in 2007 by two guys, co-founders who are still very involved with the business, Jerry Lee and Danny Abshire. Jerry is a gentleman who he's a real estate guy in Boulder, Colorado, who has always had a passion for running and triathlon. He's in his 60s. Has had a lot of success in the real estate market. Got connected with Danny, who was a guy that has just always had this. He's the visionary. He's the visionary for the brand and the product. And Danny's vision, after years of working in custom orthotics and sort of helping people in the ski business and then ultimately in the running business, his vision has been and this is what we all believe. There's a better way to run. We think there's a more efficient way to run. It's no different than there's a better way to swing a golf club. There's a better way to shoot a jumper. It's about muscle memory. It's about working through things. And so Danny, Jerry and Danny hooked up, and Jerry's side of the business, around beyond his passion for the biz and wanting to support Danny, was really about the give back side. So everything that Jerry does with his wife is tied to a foundation, and so you have these two pillars that are working together. One is obviously the passion for product and the passion for helping people to run the right way, and even just quite honestly having the courage to go out into a highly competitive industry and say, we think there's another way to do it. And then you take Jerry, who shares that passion with Danny, but he comes at it with a way of, the only way we're going to do it is if we're helping people, is if we're giving back. And so highly philanthropic organization, very, very unique organization, involved in a number of give back ways with groups around the world. And this thing sort of bubbles up over the past 7 years to this this brand that is has created an incredible tribal following. We talk about our brand like it's the Harley Davidson of athletic shoes. You guys probably can appreciate what it means to be on a Harley. It's something a little bit different, right, than a Kawasaki, a Honda, Yamaha. Throw out any other brand. You know, you get the wave. You know, there's a kinship. Well, that happens with our brand. You know, we call it Newton Nation. We call it, you know, when you buy our products, we welcome you to the nation, and you're a Newtonite. It's not about just buying a shoe. It's about buying into something. It says something about you. And so we're leveraging all the unique assets that we have about being the originals back in 2007 to say, hey man, there's a better way to run. We have a design architecture and a technology platform that is unlike anybody else out there. And we honestly believe that when you couple that with the education of, you know, evolving your gait, you're going to stay healthy, you're going to be more efficient, you're going to run faster, all those things. And then you take all the work that we do in our philanthropic efforts. It's a unique place. It's a really unique brand.
Now, Craig, I was asked this a couple of days ago, and I couldn't remember, which is rare for me every now and then where I forget the origins of a footwear company's name. But could you explain to our viewers where the actual name for the company came from with Newton?
Well, Newton is, and I was never good in the sciences, but there's an agency in Boulder that we actually are just circled back and working with called TDA. And our technology is, it's a dynamic technology. So the lugs and the forefoot, so we sort of promote more midfoot, forefoot strike, and we have dynamic technology that actually works inside an open membrane. And so the laws of Sir Isaac Newton are for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. And so that's where the Newton came from, and we continue to sort of play off that. And I can't say anything smarter than that about Sir Isaac Newton. I'm a social studies guy, Sean.
Hey, I appreciate you refreshing my memory on that, because like I said, we did cover that you guys launched the year that we launched. So
so the Newton technology, you will, it's not only, and here's one of the, I think some of the confusion around our brand is that a lot of people feel like you got to land on your toes to run on our shoes, and that's not the case. Our technology in every one of our shoes except for two is in the forefoot and the heel. We have an amazing technology. So it's basically there's an elastic membrane that your foot will rest against, and you'll feel the rebound and the responsiveness in our product like no other technology out there, we believe. And so we talk about, you know, feeling that pop and that sensation of really getting the elevation and increasing your cadence when you run in our product. And it's that's that responsiveness that is you just don't get in a foam shoe.
Right. Talk about the different rides for different types of runners a little more.
So when we came out, first off, you know, I'm sure you guys are aware of the fact that a lot of people have sort of lowered the drops on products.
Yeah.
And we were the first ones to do that. So our shoes, and we believe in the efficiency of sort of more landing flat, midfoot, forefoot. So we were the first ones to come out with the lowered drop. Our drops go from 0 to 6 millimeters. But what we found is that a lot of consumers, and Jesse, I think you mentioned this in your days of City Sports, guys they feel it's a little too unfamiliar to them when they put our products on. And that's partly a product of the drop, but also the technology, which is once you get moving in it and you start to adapt it, you really feel it. So what we wanted to do, and you know, I joined the company 18 months ago roughly, and you know, the idea was let's identify what are the objections that consumers have voiced about our products. The first one was feels a little too funky. It's a little too unfamiliar.
Okay.
So the first idea was let's address that with different levels of the configuration in the forefoot so that it's less extreme. So we build up around it. We have a POP 1 platform, and POP stands for point of power. That's the most extreme, most aggressive. That's for folks that have ideally evolved their gait or have you know, sort of moved up with our products and are comfortable with it. We've introduced a POP 2 platform, which The lugs are a little beveled. It's a little bit of a softer ride. It's still the open chamber technology. You still get the ride, but it's a little less extreme, kind of like the 5 Series and the Beamer line. And then we came in with the Pop 3 platform, which we actually just started shipping last week. So D, when we were talking about timing of the show, this was ideal.
Okay.
The Pop 3 does not have an open chamber. It's actually backed by foam, so hence it's going to be a little bit softer. So now you've got these 3 different platforms that we think broaden the reach for us from a consumer standpoint. So the objection of shoes feel a little unfamiliar, it's a little too extreme for me, we've addressed that now with the line. The second objection was price. We've sold a majority of our product at either the 155 or 175 price point, and now we've got 110, 129, and then we keep the 155 and 175. And then the last thing just comes down to messaging, and that's just us being a little bit more human. So I like to joke with the guys sometimes and say, look, take the lab coat off and just talk to me in English. Like we need to stop scaring consumers off.
Yeah.
You got to give them some information that is, doesn't dilute down who we are. By the way, I do have a lab coat.
So
you are a doctor. You're a Sole Doctor.
I'm a Sole Doctor. Exactly. I like that.
In continuing with what you just said, Craig, how important has it been for the retailers that have stocked Newton Running to be able to convey that message? Because it seems like that could be a part of what the challenge is, and we have this all the time in non-specialty related footwear that we see. We can go into a store these days and ask about a simple basketball shoe, and the employees can't tell us anything about it. So, a shoe like a Newton Running shoe, which requires, a certain level of detail in the explanation to the consumer, has that been a challenge for you guys and where you retail to stock the shoes?
Huge challenge, no question, huge challenge, and it's what has kept me up at night. I mean, we're highly dependent on the independent specialty retailer. We believe that channel is where your credibility comes from, and so you've obviously you've got to make it easy for these guys. And I'll give you an example of one way in which I think we've done that. In the past, let me see. You guys can see you can see me, right?
Yep,
absolutely.
Well, let's see. So this is the brand new Pop 3 shoe that just started shipping last week, and you can see the 5 lugs. These are foam backed. Am I still on here?
No, we
lost
you for a second.
We lost you for a quick second.
How's that?
We don't have
There
any.
you go. There you go. Oh,
There,
Got you.
there you go.
So little things like identifying the pop in the sidewall of the shoe, and identifying the drop in the back of the shoe.
Yes.
So little icons like that just help to ease the anxiety for retailers, because in the past, if you don't have these little icons, and we talk about let's not NASCAR this thing out, but these little things are cheat sheets for retailers, and you have to settle their anxiety. They have to be comfortable with selling your product, or they're not going to bring it out, right? I mean, they're just not, and I wouldn't either. I've been there, and so the idea, and Sean, it's still a challenge, man. I mean, it's not, we still have a lot of retailers who I think are reluctant with open-to-buy dollars to commit to a brand like us in a big way. The only thing that we can do is continue to put great product out there. I think, as I mentioned earlier, it starts there.
Yeah.
And the other thing that we're really looking to do is we're really looking for push-pull strategies with field marketing representatives. And we all know what tech reps do. These are not tech reps. We need folks that are building communities of Newton Nations in select markets around the country, because we can't afford to be everywhere like some of our competitors. And then we just, we have to continue to keep hammering away at this thing. And then, it can tip. It can tip. I mean, I've been a part of brands that have tipped, and you never know when it's going to happen. You just continue to do good things and be smart with your spends, and you know, keep improving product, and that's what we're doing.
Yeah, yeah. Now,
This is definitely. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Jesse. Go ahead.
I was going to say this is definitely a good social studies moment, because this is something we can talk about in social studies. But as Craig mentioned earlier, this is a great example of how being on a retail floor and understanding how the business works that way forward is important. Having the ability to go out and talk to a retail force also starts with the retail manager, the person running the store. So as I said to Craig earlier, I came from a teaching where I couldn't bring out just one shoe. I had to bring out 3 different brands. You couldn't bring out the same 3 different brands with 3 different models. You had to bring out 3 different brands and have that conversation. And then once you did that, you had to have the wherewithal to put it in plain English. So selling Newtons, for me, in order for people to understand what the propulsion felt like, 1, you had to put it on them. 2, you talked about what it was like to ride a bike with a clip-in pedal. You're getting a return energy on the other part of your gait that you don't normally get from a normal cushioned shoe. So there's
down, Jesse. I've never heard that before.
We only give those things away here on OSD. So you can write that one down. Only on OSD. But those are the things, like he said, you only have 1 or 2 geeks, athletes that understand the body and the product that's being put out. And that's and again, I'm going to keep hollering his name out, and he'll hopefully see this, but Sean Scales, you had to know the product, and then being an athlete, you have to know what it does to your body in order to speak to the person that doesn't know. And that way they can understand. But this is where the business comes in. If you're not getting that message from the top down, you got these sales reps, these tech reps that go on to have these shows and these events, it's not transferring once they leave. That's the hard part.
It's hard, and you know, I think there's a guilt by association that we have, and you know, some of these store owners, there's certain paradigms that it's very difficult to get them to shift from. You know, the way that they buy products, and I'm not here to question it. You know, I mean, I understand that when someone walks in that door, they're looking for their credit card, right? I mean, so I get that. But you know, the consumer is evolving, and that's the other thing that we bet on. And you know, we're betting on you know, you talked a little bit earlier about the fact that, you know, we've got baby boomers who are staying active. I mean, let's face it, we've got multiple generations of consumers that overlap in the workforce, and you know, they're all living side by side, and we're influencing each other on the psychographic elements of how we, you know, behave around certain consumer products. And you know, I believe, and I think what we believe at Newton is that there's an acknowledgement and an awareness of what shoes do for you when you walk or run, in terms of being sort of that initial cog in the chain of health. And you know, I go back to you know, rocker bottom shoes and MDT and some of the stuff that those guys did, you know, a few years ago. And then, you know, obviously that started to get people thinking about it, right? I mean, it really started to talk for the first time in a big way. People were talking about posture and, you know, what it's like to walk in sand and all these, you know, maybe silly things, but still it was an awareness that, man, these, you know, these shoes, there's something going on here, and I want to learn more about it. And so, and I think, you know, obviously we went to this barefoot extreme, and now we've come back to the maximalism thing with some of these guys. And I look at all of that and I say, great, because I honestly believe, I think what it's doing is it's getting the consumer, and then, you know, in a slow way, but I think it's going to start to snowball more. I think even specialty retailers and GSGs and big boxes, all these guys are going to start looking at shoes a little bit differently, because the consumer is going to be asking about it differently.
Yeah.
And I you know, and we still believe at Newton that elevates us as a unique brand with a, you know, a strong IP around a technology platform that is a differentiator. So it's an exciting time for the biz.
Yeah.
It's an exciting time for Newton. You know, it's a challenging time as well. I mean, I think we're all aware of, you know, what's happening with with retail and online sales and consolidation, and I mean it's just it's not always easy to follow, but we're we've built what we believe is a really strong blueprint for how to approach this business and this consumer, and we think the consumer's getting in line with us. So we just gotta take advantage of it.
All right. Now, Craig, it's funny the points you just mentioned as far as the trend in where consumers were leaning as far as their running shoes for a couple of years, especially with the minimalist running trend. I want to preface this by saying, back when the minimalist running trend started, and Vibram had put out the 5 finger shoes. We were the only ones in the industry when we were talking about it who predicted that if this wasn't, presented to the consumer properly, there would be lawsuits. We were the only ones who predicted that. And it eventually came to pass a couple of years ago where the lawsuits came in waves upon waves upon waves, and now you even see how it actually affected the minimalist running movement and the companies that partner with them, and you see a totally different look in running shoes now for the last year or so.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Well, I don't know how you can get in on that $3.2 million class action lawsuit. I think there might be something there for you, but I thought the Vibram thing was a good. It goes back to my point about just people looking at things differently. I thought it was wonderful that these guys came out with it. I heard return rates of upwards of 60% at times, and I think, I don't know how they were being sold at retail, but it somewhere went sideways, right?
Yeah.
The benefits just were either not communicated properly at retail or somewhere along the way, and obviously start to upset some consumers.
Right.
I was going to mention that I think when this minimalism thing took off, one of the challenges that we face is we were associated with minimalism.
Yes.
We're not, there's characteristics of our brand that minimalism took to a more extreme level. One is heel ball offset, right? So when we came in and we said, hey, it's better to be at a 2 mil or 3 mil heel ball offset, those guys, some of these brands took it down to 0, and then consequently they looked at Newton and said, well, you're a minimalist brand. Well, that's sort of hurt us a bit, and our challenge is to continue to evolve that. And I think we're fighting through that, and I think for the most part we've disassociated ourselves with minimalism, and part of that is just how we communicate what we're about. We see ourselves as in the middle of sort of more conventional midsole, 2X, the heel or 10, 12 mil drops versus some of these minimalist products. We have the benefits of the lower heel ball offset, but still there's shoe there. There's still technology in our shoes. Mm-hmm. So again, I think we're in a good place. I mean, let folks figure out where they want to land. We're just going to keep putting great product out there.
It's a great place to be because that 10, 12 millimeter drop now, when you had the super low drop to 2 to 3, a lot of people don't know what to do with those shoes anymore because there's just no stability in them at all. There's not really much you can do with them. You can't even really take them out and kind of walk around with them as a normal day shoe because now there's free technology. So there's something else that you get a little more benefit from a free than just a natural, a little bit of a 2-3 drop. So when you're playing in that 12 to 10 drop area, you're getting what design likes to call, or what we like to call in the sneaker culture, you're getting crossover based on the consumer. So the consumer deciding what they want to do with that shoe, whether it's an aerobics class, whether it's I'm wearing it to spin, whether I'm wearing it into the gym, it gives them another alternative, and it gives your brand another exposure that just came naturally from what the consumer decides to do with it versus what you're marketing it as, and that's a good place to be.
Yeah, I mean, and I think it's a great point, Jesse. That we're well, first off, you mentioned the word stability. My God, we could. I need to be on the show every week, man. It's
you're welcome to.
Well, I'm an old guy in this stuff, and you know, sometimes I'm not afraid to say what I think, but I think, you know, when we talk about the paradigms of the biz, I think the word stability is often misused too. You know, I think, you know, like we like to believe that all our shoes are stable. I mean, we think stability is good. I mean, but you know, unfortunately, and of course I've been involved in this also, stability has been more about controlling the foot, which, you know, when you control the foot, in many cases you're not allowing the body to naturally do where it wants to go, and you know, there's a lot of torque forces that sort of can enter, and I won't get into great detail because then I'll just get in trouble. But you know, we believe in accommodating the foot and accommodating the body. And we think you can do that with a 2-3 millimeter drop, although, you know, it's not, as you pointed out, it's not going to be right for everyone. I don't even think drop is that big of a deal anymore. I mean, you know, there's brands that we compete with that have standardized drops at, you know, 8 millimeters.
Wow.
And you know, that's a big difference from the days when I started, and it was, you know, 12 and sometimes 14 mils. So again, it goes back to what we believe is happening, and that is there's a consumer awareness, and there's an understanding that, you know, the design architecture of a running shoe and even a walking shoe, I suppose, is evolving. And you know, I think the business is evolving. I really do. I think, you know, and that's why I love to see all these, you know, the Hokas and these other guys out there doing things and offering different ways. We don't agree with some of the things that are happening, but you know, I'm not going to dispute what it does for how the consumer thinks about shoes. I think it's wonderful.
Right. What's the feedback been on, you know, some of the later silhouettes and the newer models that have come out?
You know, we well, the one guy you can ask is D, because I sent him a pair.
Oh man,
I need to hook you guys up. But we, you know, one of the things that we've done in addition to evolving the technology platform is we've gotten into we're really starting to spend a lot more time on the design aesthetics, and you know. Everybody says, well, if you're sort of a geek running brand, then you don't care about what it looks like. Well, then why the heck do we spend hours upon hours talking about color and materials and how the shoes look? It's got to look good, right?
Absolutely.
Look good. And so, you know, we're all about bright colors, and that's going to be a big part of us, and that will never go away. But the subtleties of design, and you know, I'll give you an example. You know, we got into engineered mesh, I think, or on the front end of when other guys were doing it, and there was really minimal capacity. There you go. There's the Fate.
Yep. I love them.
You could see the design, and if you went back a few years, you know, we're very purposeful with our designs, but you know, we've really, I think, raised the bar from a design and development standpoint, and so the answer is feedback is fantastic. First feel is great. I think, you know, the objective that I mentioned earlier about getting more people into our brand and getting that first feel and being comfortable with it, and getting retailers more comfortable with, you know, selling these products up against some of the go-to shoes that exist out there. That's happening. So we're pretty excited with where things are.
It's pretty cool to see the evolution. Like I said, the only call out you guys used to have was the pods underneath, and I think the Newton logo on the side is still one of the heritage things that was there originally, and your uppers is still primarily mesh, which is what the original shoes were. But the things that you're doing with the colors now, and I'm looking at a couple of these terrain shoes, and I'm like, this is good stuff. That was one of the reasons I wouldn't wear it. I'm going to be honest with you. That originally ones, I was like, I don't run marathons, and it was cliched as a marathon shoe, and I'm like, I don't do this, but I respected the product, so it was easy to sell.
Well, and you know, so when Danny's vision was, and he still is he's our chief product guy, and you know, the vision is purposeful design. You know, I mean, it's got to work first and foremost, And we in the first 5 years really did not evolve the product at all. We kept it very consistent. We did some color up stuff. The bottoms were consistent, and it was the right thing to do. But we've gotten the business to a point where it was also the right time to evolve, and that's what we've done. We will introduce more new styles in the first 7 months of this year than we have in the prior 7 years of the history of the company.
Wow.
So if you think about that, this is an inflection point for our business. And the beauty of it is that we don't compromise anything as it relates to Jerry's vision of give back, philanthropic efforts. We're a Boulder company. We're not in Boston. We're not in Portland. We're in the mecca of endurance sports. We have an incredibly rich culture of people who are just passionate about the sport and the business and our brand and being involved in the community. And it's a unique place, guys. It's an incredibly unique place, and obviously it's a commercial endeavor too. So we're throttling up with the things to drive Newton Nation and build it out and get more people in the brand. So
now, Craig, just to show you the power of OSD, all right? You guys hear me?
Yep. We got it, yeah.
Okay, cool. One of our very close supporters from Australia just chimed in on Twitter while he was watching, and he says, at the latest buying conference in Australia, Saucony and Brooks talked up that they've increased their midsoles by 3 millimeters to steer away from the barefoot running trend.
So yeah, increased their midsole. Okay.
Yep, increased by 3 millimeters.
Yeah,
they made it a talking point.
Well, that's interesting, and look, I think obviously everybody has the goals with their brand. We believe that the communication. This is going to sound a little geeky running, but we honestly believe, and we've scientifically proven that being closer to the ground is more efficient. And I like to ask people, when you go to the beach, where do you run if you're going to run?
Mm-hmm.
You run in the soft sand, or do you go down by the water where it's firmer?
You run by the more firm.
Yeah, and so it's we believe that the what we measure is looking at the responsiveness of our products and not getting lost in big foam products. And I think obviously different brands have different strategies, but we're not chasing that maximalism effort. Again, I think it's great that it's out there as an option. Again, it's getting people to think about things differently, but we won't go in that direction. We're going to stay true to who we are. But I love the feedback from Australia. It's a good market for us. We're actually in 44 countries around the world. So Australia is with distributors down there, and it aligns very much with the U.S. market from an active lifestyle standpoint. And as a big triathlon brand as well, we have some of the top triathletes in the world that run in our product. Rachel Joyce is a British woman who finished second at Kona last year. Craig Alexander is a multiple Ironman world champion. These guys are all a big part of our family, and we're the official footwear sponsor of Ironman North America.
Oh wow!
So
okay.
We'll have the first full Ironman will take place in Boulder, not this weekend, but the following weekend, first weekend in August. So we'll have a big presence out here, and it's the biggest Ironman. I'm told the biggest Ironman field that they've ever had ever. I think there's about 3,000 athletes. So yeah, a lot of good things happening with our brand right now.
Nice. And much success on all of it. We salute you and, you know, wish the brand a whole lot of success in all those endeavors. Here's one we didn't ask you. What have you been wearing more recently?
I'm in the fate. I'm in the I wouldn't it's a whole new fate for me, man. I wouldn't send D anything that I didn't believe in.
There you go.
I'm a bigger guy, and you know, I love the products that we refer to as speed trainers and mileage trainers, but in all honesty, I'm less of a gazelle and more of a glider. So I need and D, don't take that the wrong way, man.
No. Trust me, we're probably built the same way. So trust me, there's nothing lightweight about me.
No,
so,
but in all seriousness, this Pop 2 platform is really it's perfect for me, and the Fate is a neutral shoe, and that's what I've been wearing. I mean, I run in everything, but that's where I like to break it out if I'm going a little bit longer. So
you know what the funny thing for me is, and because I do have the Fate and I wore them, I probably wore them the first time for about 4 hours, and the second time I wore it for like the whole day, like probably a good 10 hours.
Yep.
The first time I wore them, I put them on and I had to walk downstairs. It was a weird feeling because of, you know, like you said, the pause and the forefront, and I was like, I could actually feel it. You know, sometimes you put on a pair of sneakers and you can't feel the technology. I could immediately feel it as I was walking down the stairs, and I'm like, wow, this is different. This is new. And then after about an hour, I was like, okay, I love these things. They were like wearing slippers. They really were. They really were.
It's a unique sensation. You know, it's funny. You know, all our shoes are really bright colored. So I hope you're styling in those.
Oh yeah, bright yellow. The brighter the better.
He's from the Virgin Islands. He's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
We've earned the right to wear any color at any time.
Hey,
I'm sure, man. I'm just an old guy in Boulder, so
the brighter the better.
The funny thing is, you know, I talked about sort of that kinship that happens when you're out and about in our product, and anytime I fly, which is about every week, I'm sure to wear the brightest shoes I can find, and I'm not kidding you. I am stopped every single time I fly, and here's what we hear from people, and this is what I think what it means, and what we're trying to bottle, and the exact words are, "You changed my life." That brand changed my life. Now that sounds a little corny, but truthfully, guys, I hear it all the time. Our people hear it all the time. I was injured. I was beat up. I gave up on running. You know, I couldn't do it anymore. Someone told me I got to try these Newtons. And the efficiency and what it does to promote health gets people back on the road. We hear it all the time. A guy stopped me in Denver at the airport just the other day. He was walking behind me, and he said, I couldn't even run anymore. And so these stories are out there. We just need more of them. You know, we've got to expand our distribution. We've got to expand our awareness. And it started with the product. You know, I've mentioned I've been with the company for about 18 months now, and you know, the focus for us initially was let's make sure we've got the right products, and
right.
It's there. So it's now it's time to go.
You mentioned building the Newton Nation up. What are you looking for? What characteristics are you looking for in someone who you would possibly hire to join the Newton Nation as part of the company?
You know, Sean, it's so hard to get a job at Newton. I don't know how I got hired. I say that all the time.
It's hard to get a job at any footwear company. You know?
Yeah, I know, but you know, and it's really less about skill set and really about cultural fit. You know, we have a really unique group of people, and you don't have to be a wiry runner necessarily, but you got to be able to connect with that customer. You really have to understand, you know, what's going on, and I think people come from many different areas of, you know, having worked in retail or maybe even worked in a business that just, you know, was focused on the active lifestyle consumer, and it wasn't footwear or apparel. Maybe it was bikes. Maybe it could be anything. Maybe they're just huge fans of Newton, which we get all the time. But we have we really, and I don't want this to sound the wrong way, but you got to fit. You got to fit with this culture. You know, I think my personal feeling is every smaller organization, you know, cannot. The smaller you are, the more you can't afford to have somebody who's not, you know, sort of jiving with how you want to do business, right. And how you treat people, and how we treat each other, and how we work together. It's a unique place, and you know, I've worked for some big organizations in the past, and you know, it's just different. I'm not going to say those places were bad, but it's different. You know, this is you as the president of the company, I'm in contact with folks at the entry level every day, and you know, I walk into customer service and I hang out with them and ask what's going on. You know, I work with the junior level marketing person, field marketing people. It doesn't matter. Everybody is accessible. It's a unique place. We pull for each other, and you know, so the short answer is you got to fit with the company. There's a, you know, I mean, we're all about, we're not looking for clones, but there's a way in which we do things and what we look for from people that has to fit, and it doesn't always work, but with the scrutiny that we put into it, most times it does. Okay. So yeah, it's a very cool place to be. It really is, and I think the spirit. I don't know whether you guys have ever spent time in Boulder, but you know, and look, Portland's a unique place, and Worcester is a unique place. Worcester. Oh my God.
Worcester. How many times have we heard people say Worcester? I'm like, Worcester. I'm like, what are you talking about? I mean, are you talking about Worcester? They're like, Worcester. I'm like, no, Worcester. What's the matter with you? What's the matter? No,
you know, I'm a Boston.
I know.
I can say that. I can drop that on. No, but those are great places. But Boulder's a unique place. You know, I mean,
yeah.
You go out for a run in Boulder, and you're gonna get. Well, I'm gonna get passed by Olympians. You know, you go for a bike ride, and you're gonna see, you know, a national team out there on the roads. It's the mecca for endurance sports, and it's.
But Craig, here's the $50 million question.
Yeah.
Does Boulder, Colorado have naked bike riders like Portland, Oregon has?
You know what? I haven't seen naked bike riders. I don't know if I want to see naked bike riders.
You don't.
Okay.
You don't. I can tell you firsthand, you do not.
Well, you know, it's funny because one of the traditions at Ironman is at Ironman events is they do an underwear run.
Okay.
Sort of this informal underwear run, and I walked by somebody's desk today, and there was all this underwear sitting out on his desk. I'm like, what the hell's going on here, man? And he's like, well, we're all going to participate in the underwear run. I said, I'm not going out in my underwear. So at the Ironman event in 2 weeks, we'll have people in underwear, but I don't think anyone's going to be naked. I hope not.
Okay.
Shauna D, have either of you ever been to Colorado?
I have. I've been to Denver, and I've been to Boulder as well. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I've
been. The difference between getting off in Denver, but then taking the 2-hour ride to the mountains.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's definitely a different adjustment that you have to make in terms of like breathing. Period.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, breathing. I've learned the hard way. Breathing is it can be a challenge. But anytime you guys want to come out, I'd love to host you. We'll take you skiing, or we can just go sit in some cool foodie place here in Boulder and have some beers and hang out. So,
Craig, I spent some time as a lift operator at Beaver Creek back in 1997, so I'm fully aware of what the mountain thinness is all about.
Oh man,
yeah, that's a good mountain. In fact that's where we ski. So
yeah,
I like that stuff. It's nice. Yeah, it's a good lifestyle out here. You know, Boulder is a big part of who we are as a brand, and you know, we try to play it up. We don't want to sound exclusive, but it's a cool place. So.
Do you think a lot of just that Boulder is woven or so tightly woven into the brand that is it a selling point, or is it a, how do you talk about that? The fact that Newton is based in Boulder, Colorado. Does that work, or for and against?
That's a really good question, and it's something that that I talk a lot about with our marketing, because I think sometimes we get, and that was my point about being sometimes maybe too exclusive. I think it's you have to show that you obviously transcend Colorado and the Rocky Mountains. Mm-hmm. So we try to find the right balance. Even going off and doing photo shoots in Midtown Manhattan, and just trying to show that it does in fact extend beyond here. So that hopefully that's a perspective that I can help with the team. It's always important to have a different perspective of someone who has not lived here, like I have, and we're cognizant of that. I personally believe that there's significantly more advantages to it than not, but we also don't want to be viewed as this tiny little brand that's out in Boulder all by itself, and let's forget about them. We got to find ways to to move beyond that, and yet still retain everything that's cool and unique about what this area brings.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
It's a great question. It's a great question, and a good challenge that we keep our eye on.
Yeah. Now, Craig, we have a little bit of data that I wanted to share with you from a site called Campless.com. Campless is a great new site that has compiled a bunch of sale data, secondary market sale data about some popular models of shoes, some not so popular, but basically just a really, as the name of the company says, campless, giving sneakerheads and people who love sneakers the proper data to know what they should be paying for sneakers on the secondary market, resell on eBay, Flight Club, wherever the case is. Yep. But he's done a great job with this site. And he knew that you were coming on tonight, and he compiled this little piece of data for us as far as Newton running shoes, and he's done an eBay summary for us. So as you can see here, 2012, 6 months, 956 pairs sold, and the average price was $85. 2013, for the entire year, 760 pairs sold at an average price of $67. And in 2014, 6 months so far, 150 pairs sold for an average of $59. This is just eBay data.
Yep.
Wanted to share that with you. Shout out to Josh over at Campless. He's doing a great job. I think definitely you should probably have a conversation with him and see what other kind of data related to Newton running shoes you might be able to compile.
Yeah, I would. First off, I'm not familiar with Campless, but what's the gentleman's, Josh?
Josh Luber. Yep.
All right, Josh. Well, I appreciate.
He's watching the show now, also.
All right, cool, man. So I think it's great. I only believe the numbers if they're good in my favor. So. No, my first reaction to this would be there's a couple things, and of course I'm sure Josh could speak even more intelligently with greater data, but one of the things we did in early this year in February, March is we phased out of 4-lug shoes. We moved to a 5-lug. And so, when I talked about the fact that we had not changed the bottoms from 2007 until March of this year, so we had a lot of older product that was out there, and I don't know how. Without knowing exactly what's being sold here, but we did some liquidation efforts, which probably drove down the average price sales. My assumption is that it would be older product also that was showing up in some of this. I think, again, the assumption that I would have is it would be best to not have a ton of stuff on eBay, but I don't know. But this is, obviously there's a significant decline. I think the average price is probably a product of other liquidation outlets getting rid of old product for us at reduced rates, driving this retail down. As far as the pair sold, I can't speak to it other than maybe there's just less inventory out there. I don't know, but I'd love to learn more about it. So Josh, you got to reach out to me.
Absolutely, I'll make sure you guys get connected. I think that's a very great conversation, and I think Josh would probably welcome the experience in working with a brand who's, new in the business, as far as your number of years in the business and in the market that you're in. I think he'd have a lot of fun with being able to partner with you and come up with some data for you. So shout out to Josh Luber.
Yeah, Josh, I appreciate you putting this up there. I believe in the numbers all the time. So any information like this is, I think, just adds to our ability to manage business effectively. So yeah, I'd love to.
Absolutely, I'll make sure you guys are connected. So
Sean, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Craig, I'm looking at your website here, and your boxes say active, level, and light. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, actually, those that's supposed to be taken off the boxes, but it's really that.
Oops, sorry.
No. That's cool. The idea is, obviously, active refers specifically to the technology. Going back to the idea of dynamic technology that's working, so that you're feeling that at the propulsion phase of your gait. The level is the idea of, we really believe that to be most efficient, you would not be heel striking out in front of you or overstriding, which in essence is braking. It's almost like running downhill. And then just light, we don't overbuild our shoes. So the concept of sort of avoiding these superfluous extras and big molded parts and, all the things that I think in many ways, a lot of our competitors use because they have broader strategies of distribution where people might be, perhaps looking for, there might be greater demand for more detailing on product. We're about stripping it down, man, and getting the shoe out of the way. We want the shoe to work with the body. So those sort of plays off those three terms. Now, the other thing that we talk about is posture, position, and cadence. And we have a Newton School of Running, and we have field marketing reps and sales reps who put on run form clinics around the country, most likely in conjunction with retailers. And we talk about having a better posture, the position of how you land, sort of shortening your stride, increasing your cadence with a little bit of forward lean. And as you evolve that gait, no different than evolving how you swing a golf club or shoot a jumper, it'll naturally come to you, and you'll best take advantage of the design architecture and intellectual property of our technology, and you'll feel it. And it just the benefits around staying healthy, less injuries, less musculoskeletal breakdown, all the things that can come with inefficient running. We believe get minimized in our product. So it's a combination of the product as well as the education. Danny Abshire is the shoe whisperer. That's Danny is a guy that this is where this thing started, and he's the guy you ought to get on your show sometime and talk about just a more efficient way to run. He's a brilliant dude and a huge asset for us. So
most definitely.
But yeah, that's supposed to come off the boxes. only because we're sort of moving away from active level light to posture, position, cadence, which might be on the inside of the box. So anyway, it gets back to that point, guys, where I said we gotta we got to simplify messaging, right? We get too all over the place.
Too up here, yeah.
Yeah, you got to keep people focused. So it's coming together.
Well, we know what the first question is the president of Newton Running is going to ask when he heads in the office tomorrow.
It's all over my social media.
Exactly.
No,
Man.
actually, the factory guys see me coming and they just run the other way.
I was gonna say.
They want me out of Asia as fast as I land. I get too many ideas that I like to express to guys on the line, and they don't want to hear from me all the time.
Get him out of here. Too much experience.
Exactly.
Right, yeah.
Oh man, you know too much.
D, you got
Yes.
a question, don't you?
Craig, you talked about the type of people Newton would hire. Again, it's a lifestyle. It's a certain look and feel. Any possible partnerships with, say, a Pensole to find your new cadre of footwear designers? Has that been the conversation yet? I mean, you've been in the game. You said going on 7 years. The company. How do you find your designers? Is that something that's been a conversation yet?
Yeah. Well, first off, I'd love to learn more about what you guys are doing and tap into some of that talent. I think it's obviously it's a great. Those guys, I'm sure, are incredibly talented and have great backgrounds. We, as a lean organization, it's our HR department is not as busy as some of the other companies that are out there, in all honesty. So we will typically use whether it's word of mouth, whether it's networking. Some of us have been in the biz for a long period of time, and of course we're a little bit removed from some of the young folks. We also use recruiters. So I think there's some good recruiters out there that are focused on the business exclusively, and of course we just put it out on our site and post it on job sites, and that's usually the first route that we take. In all honesty, guys. But let's talk. We need to talk more about that because we use right now our design and development group is done through on a contract basis with a very talented group that I've worked with for years. Ironically, back in the Boston area in Reading.
Okay.
And so we work with those guys. We've got some expats over in Asia, in both development centers and in in close proximity to some of the factories that we work with. But as our business continues to evolve, and we look to keep the line fresh more frequently, having in-house design is going to be something that we'll definitely need to explore. So we need to talk more about that.
Absolutely. And we'll make sure you get connected to, Dwayne and some good folks over at Pensole. We can say to you confidently, and Jesse's there now with the launch of, the World Sneaker Championship at Pensole in Portland, that, as mentors to some of the designers who have come through that program, Dee, myself, Jesse, there truly are some of the most talented people in the industry who have yet to be discovered, working on some incredible product that you will not regret being exposed to.
Well, here's my philosophy, and again, this is partly from my experiences with other brands, and this is 20 years in the biz for me this year, guys.
Right.
I think I've been partly guilty of this myself, but I think it's there's a merry-go-round to this business. There's a way that you can get lulled to sleep with how you introduce products and how you promote products and what events you take place in and how you use athletes and all those things. And when you've been on that circle a few times, I personally believe, and again I think I've been guilty of it myself. You start to I think you lose a bit of that creative energy, and I'm not trying to diminish the value that and others in the business who are some really smart people bring to this, but I love people who come with fresh ideas, and you know that. So you know, I suppose people would call me a retread industry. The reason why I'm at Newton and the way I approach thinking about bringing people in is, you know, I came here because it was a unique opportunity with a sort of a you know, somewhat of a clean whiteboard. You know, there's a way that we do things, you know, with the culture and the give back and the philanthropic efforts that will never go away, and that's also very unique, and that was appealing to me. But in addition, you know, this brand has opportunities to, and I don't want to, you know, this to come out the wrong way, but we can do whatever we want. I mean, you know, we can zig when everybody's zagging, and because that's what Danny did. You know, he came out and he said, "There's a different way to do it." I believe it's, you know, and it was a courageous statement, and that still, you know, fuels how we push creative ideas, and so, you know, when I see something that maybe comes out of our sales group or our marketing group or even operations, I say, you know, that's been done. Let's think about it a different way, because we can. And so that holds true with, you know, when we look to hire people. If you're in the biz, you've really got to be able to express a desire to evolve your thinking and get off that merry-go-round and come with fresh ideas. Leverage the perspective and the experience that you have, but come with fresh ideas.
Yes, sir. Now here goes a good question for you. I'm going to share a bit of information for you first, and then tie into the question. This rapper said before that the biggest check he's ever been handed personally in his life was an $80 million check. And it was from a gentleman named Paul Fireman. Is Paul Fireman still involved with Newton Running, and to what degree has his past experience and success played a role in you guys' evolution?
It's a great question. A few years ago, Paul made an investment in the Newton business. Paul sits on the Paul and members of his Fireman Capital Group. They have a minority stake in our business. He's involved in our business. You know, I worked with Paul at Reebok for a short period of time, and you know, I have a tremendous amount of respect for the way that he thinks about things, and sometimes it can be sort of out there. But you know what? You can't fault the man for what he's done in our business, and you know,
absolutely.
Obviously, they're in Boston, we're in Boulder. We have regular board meetings, and there's, you know, their fingerprints are definitely on areas of our business, and so, you know, we've leveraged the experience that they bring, that perspective that they bring, but they also let us do our thing too, and it's been a very good relationship. You know, Paul introduced me to the folks at Newton, so you know, obviously I owe a lot to him for helping with the facilitating the initial introduction, and yeah, they're, you know, I don't know who that rapper was.
It was 50 Cent.
50 Cent.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Yeah. So, but yeah, they're still a part of our business.
Nice.
Yep.
Nice.
Awesome. Man.
We've kept you long enough, Craig. So what would you like to say as some parting words for anyone who's on the fence about Newton and wants to finally jump into the pool, so to speak?
Well, you know, here's what I would say. Just put them on and run. You know, and I really don't, and I mean that somewhat tongue in cheek, but you know, don't overthink it. You know, this is a brand that has a unique sensation, and you know, try it. And I'm not, and you know, I don't want to be in a position to say you're gonna love it. I want people to be able to say it ain't for me, or I love it. Because if that's the reaction, then we're doing our job. And what I mean by that is we're staying true to being unique. And when you're unique and you have a unique point of view, and you have a way in which you're designing product and a way in which you're communicating your brand, you're not going to appeal to everybody. So, again, don't worry about feeling like you got to run a different way or you got to learn to run a different way. Just put them on and run and try them out.
Absolutely.
Craig, thank you very much for coming on.
Absolutely.
It's good for you to come back on again. And
Nicely done. Nicely done.
Yeah, great job, man. And you know, of course,
You always
have that seat here with the Sole Doctors on OSD for whenever you want to come on. And
see, I just want him now to come on board, and you don't have to worry about retirement, Craig. Just drop all the dimes, drop all the nickels, all that knowledge. Just become a Sole Doctor because you already have the lab coat. Come on now.
That's right.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Well, you guys are a lot of fun, and you know your stuff, and I've been a sneakerhead since I was a little guy. I got a 15-year-old boy who's a big-time sneakerhead. This is an awesome business we're in.
Yeah.
I love the fact that you're promoting it and you're pushing it and bringing awareness to the opportunities that young people have here. And you guys just keep up the great work.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Appreciate it. Craig Heisner.
Get some sleep. We'll see you.
All right.
Yes, sir. Craig Heisner, president of Newton Running. Thank you, brother.
Yep.
Great episode, Sole Doctors. Great episode.
Absolutely.
Now, Jesse, you've always shared through social media, more recently, but over a period of, a year or so since you've been out in PDX, you shared a bit of your experience in, working out, running a bit, showing some of the footwear and stuff that you're wearing. What'd you think of what Craig had to say about Newton, especially considering you worked in a specialty running shop?
So do you want me to answer that as perspective of a specialty running shop or as an OSD doctor? There's a couple angles you can get an answer to that.
Jesse, I want you to answer that.
As Jesse's an athlete first, and that's how Jesse got introduced to the business, whether it was Nike, whether it was Adidas, whether it was whoever it was about athletics first. Some of the things Craig talked about, when you talk about what's going on with our society, and realize that the inspiration for these products don't come from making a cool sneaker. It comes from trying to make something that will eventually help somebody do something.
Yeah.
So when you talk about working out, when you talk about the body, when you talk about the kinetic chain, understanding that you can't do anything if you don't have your feet. You can't get up and go to the refrigerator. You can't get out of bed. As you age, if you're not taking care of your feet, you're going. It doesn't matter how good your knees are. It doesn't matter how good your back are. You don't have feet to do it on. So when you see a lot of people with, I have plantar fasciitis, my knees hurt because my ankles turn in, those things are correctable. Those things can be worked on through the proper exercises and knowledge. Some of that can come from the retail floor, especially if you're talking about a specialty running store. I believe it's your obligation as a specialty running store to have that knowledge in-house and share it with the consumer. They shouldn't have to fish for it, and it shouldn't be something that they have to find out second half. You have to work that into that conversation. And unfortunately in retail, you have the 30-second rule, not even 30-second, you have the 9-second rule. Technically, you have 9 seconds to get that consumer to reach into their pocket and pull out their credit card, like Craig said. Doing so at a specialty running store, it's important to take the cues that the brands give you, whether it's a color pop, whether it's a logo, whatever may be on the product, and work that into your conversation with that consumer. You have to find out why they're there, how they do it, and how they're feeling. And once you have that, you should know off the top of your head which 3 shoes on that wall will help them do what they're looking to do. Hopefully one of them is a Newton, and some not. In terms of what he's talking about with their technology and propulsion and benefiting a runner and getting better, he's on. Unfortunately, in the competitive marketplace that we're in, at the end of the day, it's going to be what can you sell. So I think really for Newton, he said we need some new open channels of distribution. We need to bring some fresh thinking in. Don't be afraid to stay out of the box and really think about innovative ways you can connect with your distributors. As he was talking, I was thinking I was going to ask you guys, I'm like, wouldn't it be cool if we could create, imagine if you could have a marketing campaign that created enough hype where you had a sneakerhead line out of specialty running stores. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that, like a specialty running store was like, yo, and I don't want to give away jewels here, but imagine if we could collaborate with Newton and be like, you're gonna drop a specialty Ironman pack the weekend of the Ironman, and the only way you're gonna get it is at that one store in Colorado during that weekend. You know what I mean? Like that, like how come? Where is that thinking? Yeah. You've got these hype around these small boutiques. Who's in house saying I want specialty running stores to be that good?
Yep.
You know what I mean? And that comes from the people inside the store and the sales guys saying, I'm not going to go into the store and bring a bag of shoes and talk to you for an hour and a half about a clinic and give you stuff to think about selling. I'm going to take you on a run on a hot summer day with these shoes, and I'm going to bring a personal trainer along to show you and help you understand what you're feeling when you're in our product. So that way...
Stop talking. No more. Just go connect you to Craig. Stop talking.
But I hope I answered the question. But
yes.
No, you totally did, and then some.
And then some, right?
Did you? Let's just connect him to Craig and before he give away the whole bank. Before you give away the whole bank.
Yeah.
But
they got something special they could do there. I'm looking at the stuff online as we were talking. You know, the colors look good, but it's a nice looking shoe. They're not doing anything different than Sauconys and Asics. They're doing good stuff. So
they're very comfortable, and I don't worry, y'all be experiencing the ride very soon.
Well, you know what's interesting is, people don't peg us, unless you've been listening to us long enough, for the type of show or the type of people on the show to have that kind of guests and talk about those kind of shoes.
Exactly.
We don't get pegged for that, which was why I made the point of when the Vibram Five Fingers came out, when we had that very in-depth conversation about the pitfalls of people running and jumping right into the minimalist running thing without the proper instruction. And we went as far as to say it's going to be, their fault, the manufacturer's fault, for not making it clear of, articulating the right way to use these shoes. Because if you leave it up to the retailers, there's going to be a problem. And I actually personally experienced it because I took a coworker of mine, who's a size 12 and has no arches. I mean, he's got he wouldn't have arches if he was standing in McDonald's.
Wow.
That's how bad his feet are.
Sounds like D Wade.
Wow.
That's how bad his feet are. He wouldn't have arches if he was standing in McDonald's. Yet we went to City Sports because he saw them and liked how they looked. So he said, "Yo, could you call me up to City Sports? I want to try these on." I was like, "Really?" So we went, and there was nowhere near the proper instruction given to him based on, number one, his foot type. This man take his shoe off, you could already see should not be in anybody's five-figure anything. But they just simply didn't go through the paces of telling him who should wear this kind of shoe and what type of feet you need to have to wear them successfully. He just basically tried them on. And the only reason why he didn't walk out of the store with them, guess, D. Wells, the only reason why he didn't walk out of the store with them.
Didn't have a size?
Oh, he had a size.
Okay.
You talked him out of it.
You told him, hey.
No.
No?
The only reason why he didn't get them was because they looked stupid.
Wow.
So, had they looked all right, he would have left with them.
Yeah. Well, different times, different,
That's interesting that you say that. I mean, that was always a challenge for me too. And you guys saw how excited I got when I started talking about the different ways you can do those, because it's genuinely something. It's the information that we just talked about that I genuinely enjoyed having that conversation with people. But when I was in store, I was the outcast for having that kind of information. I was the outcast for being able to share that information with people, because it would take supposedly a sale away from someone else,
or
it would so-called ruin the consumer's excitement about what they came in here for. And it's like, well, are we here to guide them into buying the right thing, or are we just letting them buy anything?
Right.
That was always a point of contention, because I could tell you what the right thing to buy was, but if that's what you want, that's what you want.
Right.
And I never fought people on that, but at the same time, the situation was I would be on the floor with other kids, and people would come in like your man and put those shoes on and say nothing to him, and I would be a bench away with the same shoe telling someone exactly how to put it on, what it's used for, and when they should and shouldn't use it. And they would hear that. They'd look at me and then look at their salesperson and be like, why didn't you say that?
Exactly, like, what's your problem?
You know what I mean? Right. So when you hear Craig talk about, retail, and you talk about what retail's going on at retail, that battle's hard. Exactly. That battle is so hard because it comes from a place inside,
Yeah, and I gotta say this much, because this is a testament to the type of professional Craig is, which was great that D reached out to have him on. Last time he was on the show, he was working with a brand that did not care about trying to sell any shoes in America.
Right. But
they just cared about the exposure in America and being talked about in America, but still selling shoes in China, which how successful they are in the basketball market with their shoes, the verdict is still out. And now here he goes from that challenge of that, I guess we can call it like the third relaunch of Li Ning before the Dwayne Wade era.
Right.
He goes from that to now jumping over to Newton, which is in another challenging field where they have probably right now the most unique shoes, in that marketplace, in that segment, and has to win people over again. So he is constantly taking on like jobs where it's like, okay, time to roll up your sleeves.
Exactly. That segment is definitely in need of a boost, or whatever you want to call it. I think, you talk about big box, you talk about the family channel, you talk about boutiques, and then there's this whole retro thing going on. The whole functional, active, actually sports shoes, unless you're talking about a cleat, no one's really talking about it. The numbers aren't even there. And people are like, how do we stay in that market? And not really sure what to do there. So like you said, it's kind of wide open. It's very wide open right now, because I would say if you're talking about the top 3 or even the top 5, I don't think they're really focused on running their specialty businesses. I think they'd like to keep them afloat, but focus?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right.
I don't know.
So, again, I like the fact that, we here are able to have that conversation and have guests like Craig on the show, as president of Newton Running, and can have that real conversation with him instead of, because we're all diverse. We have the discipline and knowledge and exposure and affinity, if you will, for all the other different types of people who love sneakers out there. I think that's one of the things that's so great about us is that diverse range of what we've experienced through footwear and what we still experience through footwear, and to have him on, be able to have him articulate, number one, as president of Newton Running, what the challenges are going to be to get people into those shoes.
Right.
It lends to our experience what we're trying to teach people exactly how to get into the footwear business, besides being a designer or working at Nike Town or setting up an eBay store to resell Jordans. We're trying to expand and show people a whole other world of opportunity. And he just gave us tonight, with his appearance on the show, a great, like you said, Jesse, a great piece of social studies that we can pass along to future social studies students. So salute to Craig, man.
Thank you.
Good work. You got it.
Definitely.
So D Wells, you got to sum it up, and then we got to transform and roll out.
Transform, and roll out for sure, man.
Ultra.
A lot of good show, a lot of good talk. More importantly, again, we're able to, like you said, Paper, and I want to echo this. Talk to Craig and talk about a brand that some folks may not be on the lookout for. It's not going to be for everyone, but it is definitely going to fill, a void or a need for a very niche group of athletes and runners. And definitely check out NewtonRunning.com. We really appreciate Craig being on the show tonight. He brought a lot of energy, shared a lot of information, and that's what we do. This is what we're about in Sole Doctors and Disorderlies and the entire OSD show. Going on 7 years. We've been around for a long time. We've grown up. We've put on the big boy pants and then some. And, shout out to all the female sneaker fiends, because they, too, are very involved as part of this culture. And we need more female designers and women working in the industry to explain and tell that story. So be on the lookout for some other developments taking place, other guests appearing on the OSD Talk Show. Make sure you tune in each and every Wednesday, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have a lot of great show. We have great information, great news. Make sure you follow OSD Live on Twitter, Instagram, everywhere, and be on the lookout every day for OSD Invest, Monday through Friday, roughly around 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Until then, until next week, make sure you wear your kicks, and always tell the people that you love them, and walk good. Y'all be safe. We are up. As they say, we are out. It's been great. It's been fun. Peace and salute.